Yeah, I stand with you on this, sis. Why are we not hearing from either of these politicians what their position is regarding Africa? Why are they not, as African presidents and representing a nation of Africans living in the Caribbean, talking about building closer alliances, economic relationships, etc., with the African countries. Now we've got our brother Ras Hoshea calling in from Jamaica. He's going to give us a bit of an insight into what's happening politically. But before he does that, let me just allow him to introduce himself.
Thank you very much, Sister Shanice and the Galaxy family, who have always been Africating our people right across from the days of the pirate radio. So I must give thanks to the Almighty. So I give thanks. I am Ras Paulus Oshing. My Paulus name comes from my faith. I'm an Ethiopian Teahido. I follow the same faith of His Imperial Majesty. Well, as you know, Jamaica is now in election mode because on the 3rd of September, which is not long away, just a couple of days,
Wednesday.
Jamaica is going to the poll to determine the future of the country I love so much. And I'm quite sure all your Jamaicans abroad in England, Canada, America, you all know the land that we all love. Well, this one must be a decision. We cannot just look at it without taking action, because it's going to determine whether you're going to be speaking Mandarin when you return to Jamaica, or whether you will still have Patois as your national language, as we currently have here in Jamaica. So it is very serious, this election. And it is good to look at the two candidates that is going to determine the future of this wonderful country, this wonderful nation that everyone loves to come to. We made the little, but with Talwa, because Jamaica has played such an important role in the last 500 years of chattel slavery and what we have embodied right through the African continent during the time of their darkest hours, emancipation of the so-called apartheid system that had Africa and the draconian clutches of the ones who call themselves Jews in South Africa.
Likobot Talawa, Jamaica, the place that gave birth to some wonderful, wonderful freedom fighters, revolutionaries like Marcus Messiah Garvey, and we're in the Garvey month right now. Paul Bogle, it gave birth to Sam Sharp, people like Nanny of the Maroons, people like Bookman Dotty, Sam Sharp, Bookman Dotty, Nanny of the Maroons, Marcus Messiah Garvey, and so many more unnamed, unknown heroes and sheroes, who decided that they'd rather die fighting than live life as an enslaved person, and made the whole institution of enslavement unmanageable. So this is the country that once it, got its independence, it formed into sort of two major parties, really. The Jamaican Labour Party, the JLP, they're the Greens, and that's the party that was founded by Alexander Bustamante back in 1943. And then the Orange Party that our brother has referred to, that's the People's National Party, the PNP. And that's the party that was founded back in 1938 by Norman Washington Manley. And so just say a little bit about each of them.
Neither the PNP party or the JLP party was founded by those two. It is the British monarchy and the Governor General that rules this country. So the political system that we inherited or was given came from the British. The British doesn't have a constitution, but they gave us one to maintain the sovereign rulership under the papal doctrine that gave white man's skin a religious authority to come and genocide black people and steal their lands. That's
So,
what it is.
yeah, and we have
So
both
this
of the
system,
parties, don't we, that's going
yes,
along with that system. The
right. These
demonocracy,
two
the
parties represent one
demonic
system,
system.
remember. It's
Right.
same system.
Mm-hmm.
And their family. It is their first cousin, and sometimes it's been alleged that they were also probably brothers. We don't know. But anyway, the two political parties that came in after what was supposedly independence, as they say, is the one that has been maintaining the most evil system against the majority of our people right here in Jamaica.
So if it's not one party that's maintaining the evil system, it's the other party. So it's like two sides of the same coin, as we say. You know, the election
But
process is just a facade.
In the position of the PNP, we've always seen that the PNP has tried its best to represent the majority of the people, because it was under that, as you said, Norman Washington Manley, that must have installed such values into his son Michael Manley, for Michael to have played such a pivotal role in breaking down the social barrier that when you was black in Jamaica, you couldn't even get a job working in a little shop. And that was in the
colorism.
70s, if you can remember.
Yeah, colorism played a major part in Jamaica.
So
yes,
under the PNP, we can say that they broke up the social class of Jamaica. And it must have been Norman Washington who inspired his son Michael Manley to finally came in with his social democracy that everyone turned around and said was communism. And it was not. So this is why Michael Manley, as you all probably not aware, was very much in consultation with the Rastafarian family. Martimo Planner was, and Peter Tosh was a frequent visitor to Michael Manley. So to see that Michael actually broke the social class barrier, that is why he got the rod of correction when he went to Ethiopia to visit his brother, who was serving at the United Nations office in Ethiopia. So we can give the PNP, we can commend them for that action as it relates to the black skin in Jamaica, who are the majority, not a minority. We are 95% Africans.
And I remember back in the day, it was a major issue, the policies that Michael Manley was pursuing. So much so that I think, it's documented that the CIA were involved in destabilizing his government and, his presidency, because they feared that he was moving more towards Cuba. It's so interesting to see the extent to which the Americans will want to get involved in the politics of such a small little island, to the point where they would rather destabilize it, so that they can flood it with their own businesses and the likes. They'll have their covert intelligence operations happening in the country, within the government levels, at the advisory levels. They're all up in our business all the time. And if we think, that these people haven't got their eyes on us and their ears to the ground and are not trying to always infiltrate us at a grassroots level as well as at a political level, then, we need to wake up. We really do need to wake up. But they are at work constantly trying to undermine and destabilize.
We're now got these two candidates. So we have Mr. Andrew Holness and we have Mr. Mark Golding. Well, I would like to remind Jamaican people that under the prime ministership of the great Portia Simpson Miller, the People's Choice, she made Mark, appointed him as Minister of Justice. And under this ministry, Mark Golding came amongst the Rastafarian community concerning the most draconian law that was on the statutory books of Jamaica, was the law of ganja, which you all know is part of our culture. All Jamaicans that was caught smoking was given a criminal record. They were locked up in prison, some of them 20 years, 30 years, because they couldn't afford lawyers' fee. So this bill that was finally processed under Mark Golding as Minister of Justice is what broke up the poverty of Jamaica. Because for the very first time, the black man was now given access to his herb in his own land. And he was no longer criminalized because, as you know, just like in Europe or anywhere else, once you get a criminal record, you cannot find work, you cannot get loans. In fact, you can't get anything. So can you imagine the amount of 100,000 of Jamaicans who have suffered, particularly the Rastafarian community, as you all know, family. So not only is the Rastafarian as fully recognized in the constitution that has been brought in under Mark Golding as Justice Minister, but he's broke out every black man, whether you're PNP, GLP, whether you're this labor right or whatever party, Christian, Muslim, pagan, or Rasta. He has given justice to the majority who are black skinned that usually get a criminal record for just smoking a little split. And as to the Rastafarian, many of them were killed if they were caught with a chalice or with one seed of this plant, not two seeds, one seed of this plant. So what Mark Golding did under that bill, I want to remind the Rasta community, I want to remind the black PNP and the black JLP that remember, whether you was PNP, JLP, or Rasta, you are all locked up and given criminal record until Mark came down to the agency. Myself, Bunny Whaler, you'll see pictures of Mark and us going through the process to decriminalize and finally break this evil bill. As a result of that legislation, Colorado, who grows cannabis, an inferior version of this wonderful flower, has become rich from cannabis. So can you imagine what we Jamaican black people, with the original sativa and the indica, the original environment that grows the best strain of this wonderful plant, how much richness it can bring to our country finally,
huge
because that is now a statutory law.
So where does Mark Golding stand on this
potentialism
then? What's his position as
Mark Golding?
One second, please. So he's the leader of the opposition at the moment, and he's standing for election.
He's the one as Minister of Justice of the Portia Simpson Miller government. Broke this evil law in Jamaica for all black people.
Okay, yeah, we've heard about that. So let's
whether you're PNP or GLP.
Okay, right. So let's hear a little bit about some of his other policies, shall we? I mean, what is he saying? If you can tell us and share with us what his vision is for Jamaica, please.
Well, based upon, remember this family, I want to remind all Jamaicans that under the Portia Simpson-led government, Mark Golding as Justice Minister had prepared Jamaica from poverty to prosperity. The GLP then came in under this young man under mysterious circumstances of winning that election. And he told the Jamaican people that he was going to bring us from poverty to prosperity. But in all the years that he's been in, this young man has only demonstrated that he shows the interest of foreign investors, not Jamaican.
What would life be like under Mark Golding? Because you're, obviously supporting the opposition government. What's his vision? What is he promising the Jamaican people why you think they should vote for him?
As under Justice Minister, when Mark Golding came amongst the Rastafarian community in order to do this bill, Mark understands the position of the poor man. That is why his vision was to break that law that prevented the black man access to this wonderful herb. And this was where Jamaica was, the launch us from poverty to prosperity. So Mark's vision is very clear to me. As a Jew, we cannot deny that Mr. Mark Golding is a Jew. And his family are the ones that were compensated for the loss of the black man labor, as you all know. But this man, Mr. Mark Golding, he is here to correct the sins of his ancestors. And he has started on a very good foundation when he came in as justice minister and broke this evil law against black skin that were given criminal records in their own country, which is part of our culture, ganja. And as you can see, not only did he do that for all black people, he then used the International Human Rights Charter that recognized Rastafarians' sacramental right, as it's written in the United International Charter, you know, and he then made it a law in Jamaica. So right now, in the statutory books of Jamaica, the Rastaman has all precedence on this wonderful plant, ganja. And what Mr. Mark Golding has done, as he said, because we told him that the ganja can subsidize the greatest agriculture revolution, because we Rastafarian knows what strain the farmers should be growing. So we will partner with the farmers and we will create the greatest agriculture revolution right here in Jamaica and the Caribbean. That is the vision of Mark Golding, to create the greatest agricultural revolution by recognizing ganja as the pinnacle, the hub that can subsidize all and agricultural growth of our industries.
Okay,
so that is the vision as Mark. So Mark wants the people. So his vision for the people. That is Mark. And remember this, I am not a PNP and I'm not a GLP. I can only commend when someone has made an action that made it better for my black people. So in this case, I must commend Mark Golding as Justice Minister and what he did for black people in Jamaica, including the Rastafarian community.
Yeah, I think we're clear now where Mark Golding stands on the issue of ganja. You know, I think for what you're saying, he's already made steps towards decriminalizing it, and he has a vision now for Jamaica to be creating industries out of it. So that very much has the support, I think you're saying, of the Rasta community. But what is he promising those who are not part of the Rasta community? I've just found a little something. Let's hear from Mark.
It's always been good to the PNP after so many years. And I'm asking you to, once again, create a situation where all three are with us so that we have the strength now to deliver for you.
So this is him speaking 4 days ago. Well, it was posted 4 days ago. He is a Caucasian-looking man, probably is Caucasian. Sound like a Jamaican though. So for the people who are listening and can't see him, he's a Caucasian, and this is what he has to say.
And I believe, based on what I've seen today, that we will get that strength from you, and that you will entrust us with the responsibility of delivering for you. Comrades, when we look back at the history of Jamaica, every time the PNP has been in government, we have had to do something transformational for Jamaica. In the era of Daddy Manley back in the 50s, from 55 through to 61, 62, Jamaica was transformed by industrialization. The bauxite and aluminum industry was taken to another level. Common entrance was introduced. so that people could attend secondary school who are from humble beginnings. And Jamaica had one of the highest rates of economic growth in the world under Norman Washington Manley's government. Then the labor rights won in 62 and ruled till 72. And poverty and unemployment and underdevelopment start the land. Jamaica remained in a colonial mindset where the majority of Jamaican people couldn't aspire for the better things in life and the better jobs that the economy was providing.
All right, bandwidth drop there. Okay, so yeah, he's also reflecting on the policies of the previous governments. I just want to hear what his policies are, what he is, committing himself to doing for the Jamaican people. Because it's one thing to legalize ganja, but that's just one small part of, any manifesto or any vision that a leader needs to have for his country. I mean, what is he saying, for example, about what his brothers are doing in Palestine? Has he commented on that? Has he said where he will stand with the situation in Israel and Palestine?
My sister Shanice.
Yeah, and I'm also going to ask, what's his policies?
Familiar with.
Yeah, 1 second, please, Rasoshin. I'll bring you in just a minute. Yeah. So where does he stand regarding Israel? Is Jamaica going to become, a partner to the Israelis, for example? What has he said about that? What does it say in his manifesto? What has he been saying in his rallies, if anything at all? What sort of relationship is he going to be having with the West? Is he going to continue to be like the allies of the West, or is he going to be looking for Jamaica to become independent and sovereign? What's his situation regarding the monarchy and the current reporting that the country has to do to the Privy Council? Is this something that he's actually declaring that he's going to be overthrowing? I mean, what's he saying about what he aims to achieve in the first 100 days of office? We know there's a lot of Chinese and Indians who are, the major business people in the country. There's beaches that the people can't even go to because it's been taken over by hotels, and a lot of the hotels are owned by foreigners. Jamaicans just are the small workers and so on. So what is he saying about all of the issues impacting Jamaica, the bauxite, the water? Yeah, let's go back now to Rasoshin.
As we said to you, sis, the ganja is not just something small, my sister. The ganja is the one that will create the revenue for all our internal self-repairing of our country, and to restore the 44,000 Black businesses that was the backbone of our economy, that Jamaica was said to be the most buoyant economy during that period until it was finsacked. That the same model is the one that has inspired Malaysia and all those other countries you probably heard. Our economy that we had, my sister, it wasn't 44,000 mixed race businesses or Chinese, white, Syrian, or any other nation. It was Black businesses that was running our economy, making everything. And they destroyed that for America to send down their stuff to it. And as it relates to the last 10 years, under Mr. Andrew Onus, his vision is a foreign interest. The Jamaican interest is not of his interest. Under Andrew Onus' government, that is why we don't have access to our beaches, because you only allow the rich of the foreigners to come and buy our land and deny us access to our spaces. As for the Chinese, my name is Ho Shing, so you probably know that, I will tell you, my grandfather came from China. But he came in the time when China was genociding certain dark-skinned Chinese in China. But anyway, the Chinese currently, since Andrew's taken over, the Chinese are breeding like cockroaches. They are not just building highway, they are now taking up the interior, the exterior. If you know, as I said to you, if we Jamaicans don't make a decision in this election, you're going to have to be able to speak Mandarin next time you come to the country. And as to go to the beaches, you're going to have to ask the German and the Spanish if they can allow you access to it. Okay. And as for the businesses of the black man, the Chinese is taking over all local industries. And what he's done, he's using chemical, replacing all our goods and services. So they're just killing us. And that's what's happening under Andrew. Andrew has put foreign interests. That is why today, under Andrew Onis, our ordinary police, when he went to Israel, when we didn't give no support to Israel, and he went to Israel and gave support to that evil prime minister in Israel, and Andrew Onis has brought back to Jamaica an Israel security policy that we now have semi-armored vehicle driving to the streets with all our police armed up with machine guns, and they all cover their faces with masks as if they're terrorists. So that is what Andrew has brought back from Israel. Okay. And as you all heard, it is alleged that this young man is also a member of the Privy Council, the same council that enslaved black man, give black man these draconian laws, whether you're in Africa or Jamaica. He is now alleged to be, so don't quote me. But you all know he went to Israel and what he gave to that evil prime minister that Jamaica support. Jamaica don't support Israel. So I want the world to know that.
Jamaica has a big decision to make next Wednesday. What is the choice going to be? What would you advise the Jamaicans to be concerning themselves with right now? Want to rise up our princess who's dropped me a message here with something from the Galena that gives a little summary about each of the candidates. So we've got Mark Golding, PNP, as we've been hearing, a British Jamaican attorney and current leader of the opposition and a PNP president, positions himself as a champion of integrity, participatory democracy, and inclusive economic opportunity. His political lineage stems from immigrant parents. His paternal grandparents were Lithuanian Jews who settled in the UK in the 1890s, with no evidence of his family owning slaves, so it says here. Then Golden emphasizes that a future PNP government will prioritize integrity and ethical governance. He has voiced concern over how a future republic might be structured, especially regarding the selection of a president and the role of the Privy Council, criticizing the current government's lack of clarity and push for genuine transparency. That was in the Jamaica Gleaner. So in summary, Golding's platform is expansive, anchored in governance ethics, social equity, youth empowerment, housing affordability, and economic transformation. His personal background as a descendant of Jewish immigrants, not slave owners, provides important context and counters unfounded claims about slave holding ancestry. So I suppose this must have been a rumor that was going around at some point that, you know, his family owned slaves. And then we've got the current Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. He's been in power for the last 10 years. And, you know, I think we're all very familiar with his direction of travel in terms of his policies. But in fairness, I'll just read it here. He's the leader of the Labour Party, as we know, and he champions fiscal prudence, economic resilience, and inclusive growth while pursuing constitutional reform and regional leadership. So no substance at all, really, in any of that. But it sounds good, I suppose. And Holness has repeatedly highlighted Jamaica's economic turnaround. He declared that the nation enjoys its strongest economy since independence, citing low inflation, that's an average of 5.5%, lowest since 1972, and record low unemployment, as low as 3.5 to 4.2%, and over 250,000 new jobs created. The debt to GDP ratio has dropped from over 120% in 2016 to around 68 to 70%, with a path to reach 60% by 2028. He also noted balance of payments, surpluses, and rising international reserves, currently at 5.5 to 5.6 billion US, and the Office of Prime Minister of Jamaica. So that's his position. And then he talks about his fiscal discipline and that the government prioritizes resilience. So you can read in from that these are very kind of, it's a very capitalist position to take, because it's all about, serving the US debt, the Western banks. And so this is why, if you're focusing all your energy on trying to get their figures down that they set for us, you can lose sight of what's happening at a grassroots level and on the ground. However, we've got the alternative policies by Golding, which all sounds good, but it has to be financed. And this is why, you could end up pushing up inflation and everything else, because how is he going to get the money? Won't start making money overnight from selling ganja and going into the ganja industry. But over time, yeah, that should bring in a sizable income. But initially, will he be borrowing? And if so, what kind of interest rates would he get the loans from? It could put the country into debt and send inflation spiraling. So, but, these are two very strong candidates. Brother Rasoshin, over to you.
So we have given, and remember, as I said earlier, Mr. Andrew Onis is telling the Jamaican lies. All the development that is happening in Jamaica is not from Jamaica Prime Minister, it's from foreign investors. So it looks as if Jamaica is having a buoyant time, but whose interests? Not Jamaicans, because Mr. Andrew Onis only sell out to capitalism and all the draconian order of white supremacists. So Andrew Onis' development of our country is to sell it out to foreigners and keep our people in shackled slavery. He speaks of employment. All our people in the hotel industry are contract workers. They do not get no sickness benefit, no this benefit. They're contract workers. And they can be hired or fired anytime, laid off quick at any time. So that is the kind of economy that Mr. Andrew Onis is creating for the majority of our people in Jamaica. Shackled slavery in the 21st century.
Let's bring in our Princess Oshom. Welcome, Black Sis. Go ahead.
I resonate with what he's saying on many levels. But what I want to focus on is that none of the candidates really spoke about the South-South connections with West Africa, whom we should be in partnership with on many fronts. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear about, building tourism or air flights coming in. I didn't hear about student exchanges, and neither did I hear about connecting with Barbados and Africa, with the Africa or Afri-Exim Bank, collaborating with them to build for our people, and not just to invite China to come in and build for us and then, hold us accountable to pay back at high interest rates. Something's wrong with our inclusive growth, something's wrong. Something's wrong about continuing to enslave our peoples. Very, very wrong. And we have to right those wrongs. And I feel that part of righting it is to make Africans accountable and Jamaicans coming together and forming a bond So if we have to follow the model of Ibrahim Traore, although it's under the French, yeah, let's look at what CARICOM can do when they go to Ethiopia for the next session that they're going to have, the Africa connection. Let's talk about, bringing Africa to the Caribbean and the Caribbean to Africa. I don't see us working with the state of the African diaspora that wants to do that, wants to unify us. Without unity, without us becoming a part of Africa and Africa accepting us, the Caribbean, we will continue to fight our battles on our own, and we'll continue to lose when we do not have the leverage of the power and authority we need. We will not be respected when it comes to reparations, because you need power behind that call. And furthermore, if we don't unite, we may end up speaking Mandarin very soon. Unite as a people with Mother Africa, I mean.
Thank you.
Rise up, sis. Yes, we give thanks to you for that reminder about how, our relationship with Africa, the Caribbean relationship with Africa and other Caribbean countries ought to really be one of our priorities. Yes, indeed. And as we know, there are numerous African countries that are coming together now and are proposing to introduce a new gold standard. They're going to be using their minerals, their gold, their diamonds, their cobalt, etc., to back their currency. And, the West are really shaky about that, very concerned about it, because, Africa is rich beyond measure. But you're right, there's something wrong with our vision if we keep looking to the West and even appointing leaders who only are interested in looking to the West for partnership, because we know what the policies of the West is all about. It's all about destabilizing other economies, undermining African and Caribbean economies, fueling conflicts. There wasn't anything in their manifestos that spoke about looking to the African countries for partnership. Yeah, I agree, sis. There is something very wrong with the picture. And you also mentioned about the low voter turnout. And that's probably because, the ordinary people just don't see a future or themselves in either of those candidates, because, those candidates are probably perceived as puppets of the West. Yeah, I stand with you on this, sis. Why are we not hearing from either of these politicians what their position is regarding Africa? Why are they not, as African presidents and representing a nation of Africans living in the Caribbean, talking about building closer alliances, economic relationships, etc., with the African countries? So, yeah, why are we not hearing more of this? I've just actually, for us here, read out the synopsis of their policies as outlined in the Jamaican Gleaner and signed off by both of them. So, if this was France or Germany or Britain or any of those countries, Western countries, they, in their policies and their manifestos, they would be talking about their alliances with the European Union, with Europe. They would be talking about their international economic policies and the relationships they're going to have to be building, closer economic ties across Europe. That would be very much part of their policies on an international level. But I've not read that anywhere or heard that in the time that Russ has been speaking either, about it being part of the policies of either of these prospective candidates. But what we're talking about, just to be clear, we're talking about the policies. What are the policies and what are the plans of these two prospective governments with regards to Africa?
Well, it's one thing I can say to you. As it regards to Mark Golding has the same vision of the Rastafarian community as it relates to the link between the CARICOM region and our own autonomy and the African continent in all areas of development, culture, education, trade, industries that has been unilaterally agreed. So that means that the present position of Jamaica seeking to be a republic, in order for it to have sovereign recognition, then Mark Golding must choose the Ethiopian sovereign authority, not the European, the British, the enslaver. See, what is it we're doing between Jamaica, Haiti, and as it relates to our sovereign position that will restore the dignity of all African and all Black people as the Federation was ordained and sent to do and established in 1957.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Brother Raso Singh, for bringing us up to date from your perspective on where Jamaica is at in terms of its politics. Let's allow our princess to leave us with some closing remarks. Go ahead, sis.
Yes, thank you so much. Respect to the brother. Unity is what we're calling for. Unity in mind, body, and spirit, not only politically, militarily, socially, but we definitely need to start
spiritually.
Yeah, spiritually bringing our souls and our hearts in oneness, and then reaching out to each other across the world to have the kind of unity where we could stand as one united Africa.
What a beautiful vision that would be. That's absolutely awesome, sis. And and I think that's exactly where our Caribbean and Jamaican presidents and presidential hopefuls should be. It should be in pursuing a vision, the Marcus Mosiah Garvey vision, where we're seeing us as Africans uniting across the globe and standing together in unity and in oneness in terms of our policies, our history, our industrialization, our businesses, our military, our currency, everything. And wow, just imagine if there was a presidential candidate that was saying, I'm standing with Ibrahim Traore, and I'm standing with Niger and Mali, just imagine the support that they would get from the entire population, and that they're going to be working with them, and there's going to be, those scholarships and those transference of skills, and Jamaican agriculturalists are going to go to, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, where they've got so much land that they can develop. And excuse me, Ras, and just imagine if there was that vision there, and Jamaican real estate developers and can come over to Mali and Burkina Faso and build and become great entrepreneurs. I really think we're missing a trick here. When we look to the West, all we're getting from them is, we're being put in a straitjacket that is maintaining the status quo. But just imagine if we had leaders who said, well, we're going to step outside of that straitjacket, and we're going to be working directly with our brothers and sisters on the continent in terms of business, education, and a whole range of other programs, innovation, satellites, internets. There's so many geniuses on the continent. Wow.
Yes, like the Honorable Amy Jakes Garvey says, that if they wouldn't do it, then the Amazons from Ethiopia will do it. We will save our people. It seemed that the men were speaking, the males at that time, while she was doing her advocacy. She says, womanhood, we will stand forward. We will come forward because it shall be done. And so it shall.
They made it happen. Wow. Rise up, sis, rise up. Yes, we're definitely, looking in the wrong direction. And our politicians, I think, are looking in the wrong direction as well. We need to be looking towards each other and, wow, realizing the potential of the continent. Woo! Yes. Thank you both so much for joining me on the show today.